It started with a feeling. Not a fact, not a fight. Just a quiet thrum beneath the skin. A tension that hummed between words and glances. A shift in tone when she said my name. I told myself I was imagining it. That's what she told me too. "You're just stressed, babe," she'd say, ruffling my hair as if I were a child lost in his own head. "You work too much, and now you're seeing ghosts." Maybe I was. Or maybe I wanted to believe I was, because the alternative meant something I wasn't ready to accept, that the woman I fell in love with, the woman I built a life around, was pulling away. Quietly. Deliberately. Her name was Lee, and for 7 years, she was my morning coffee and my goodnight sigh. The kind of woman who laughed with her whole chest, who scribbled jokes on napkins and stuck them in my briefcase. The kind who sang old soul songs while making pancakes on Sunday mornings. But that woman had started to fade, replaced by someone sharper, distant. Someone always a little too tired, a little too busy with meetings. Even when those meetings seemed to happen most often after 10 p.m. I caught myself counting her lies in the same way you might count cracks in a sidewalk. One here, another there. Nothing large enough to make you fall, just enough to make you watch your step. I found a receipt once, folded in her coat pocket. A dinner for two at a place we used to love, now suddenly too pretentious for her tastes. She claimed it was a client meeting. "Networking," she said, shrugging like it was no big deal. "Do you want to see the emails?" she offered once, eyes wide and defensive. I didn't. Because if I asked to see proof, it meant I didn't trust her. And if I didn't trust her, what were we doing? So I did what cowards do. I swallowed it. I smiled when she smiled, and I kissed her on the forehead when she came home smelling like cologne I didn't own. I told myself love was patience, that it was loyalty, not suspicion, that it was better to be wrong quietly than right alone. But the silence was starting to scream. One Thursday night, she said she was heading to a late dinner with Marcy from Ops. Her voice was high-pitched when she said it. Too bright, like she was reading from a script. I nodded, even smiled. But something in me cracked. So I went out. I didn't plan to. I just drove. Parked. Wandered down 2nd Street where the bars spilled laughter onto the sidewalks like warm beer. I ended up at an old jazz bar, the kind of place that smelled like wood polish and memory. The bartender didn't ask questions. I ordered a whiskey neat and sat by the window. I watched people walk past, some alone, some hand in hand. I wondered how many of them were lying to each other. I wondered how many were being lied to. The second drink hit harder than it should have. I wasn't drunk, just numb in that floating way where everything feels slow. Then the door opened. I didn't turn right away, just caught the sound of heels on old wood, a familiar rhythm my bones recognized before my mind did. I turned, and there she was. Lee, hair swept up, that same rust-colored coat she wore on our 2nd anniversary. But it wasn't the coat that hollowed my chest. It wasn't even her face. It was the man behind her. Tall, confident. The kind of swagger that doesn't come from practice. It comes from knowing you've already won. They didn't see me at first. She was laughing. God, that laugh. The one she hadn't shared with me in months. She reached for her glass of wine with easy familiarity, sliding into the booth like it was a ritual. I stayed still, frozen. And then she saw me. Our eyes met across the room, and the color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Her hand jerked. The glass she held slipped, caught the edge of the table, and shattered on the floor. Wine, like blood, spread across the wood. The bar went quiet. A few heads turned. Her date looked confused, then followed her gaze to me. I raised my glass. Not in mockery, not even in anger, just in recognition. Of her. Of the lie. Of the years I'd given to a woman who could walk into a bar with another man, thinking I wouldn't be there to see it. She stood there, lips parted, the sound of the glass still echoing between us. She looked like a ghost, like the truth made flesh. And for the first time in a long time, I felt clear. She told me I was imagining things. But I never imagined this. For a moment, I thought she might come over, that she'd rush across the room, stammer an apology, pull some wild story out of the air like a magician trying to distract an audience from a botched trick. But she didn't. She just stared, hands frozen mid-motion, as if even her muscles couldn't decide what came next. The man with her, he glanced from me to her, then back again. And I saw it, clear as daylight. The slow realization spreading across his face. The slight lean back, the quiet shift of the jaw, like he was calculating the odds of getting dragged into a scene and losing. He muttered something to her, something I couldn't hear. Her eyes never left mine. It was like we were the only two people in the room, suspended in amber. I lowered my glass, finished the drink, and stood. The bartender, bless him, didn't say a word as I dropped a few bills on the counter. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. That image of her, frozen, pale, one hand dripping red wine, was already etched into the inside of my eyelids. Outside, the city felt colder than it should have for April. Or maybe it was just me. I walked 3 blocks without any real direction. Just movement. Just motion. As if walking fast enough might blur the pain. It didn't. I ended up on a park bench, somewhere near the river walk. The wind off the water bit through my jacket, but I stayed. I needed time to think. Or maybe just to feel something other than the dull ache behind my ribs. My phone buzzed around midnight. Lee. Of course. I didn't answer. She texted once. Can we talk? No punctuation. No apology. No explanation. Just a weak plea in digital ink. I didn't reply. That night, I slept on my brother's couch. Told him it was a work thing. He didn't ask questions, which I was grateful for. If he had, I might have broken down. The next morning, I went home. She was already there, sitting on the edge of the couch, like someone waiting in a principal's office. She looked smaller somehow, still wearing the same coat, but now it hung on her like it belonged to someone else. Can I explain? She asked, voice low. I didn't answer. I walked past her into the kitchen, filled the kettle, and let the silence press down like gravity. When I turned, she was standing in the doorway, arms crossed like a shield. It's not what you think, she said. I laughed. Not loud. Not cruel. Just tired. Lee, I saw you. I watched you walk into that bar. With him. You didn't see me. You were too busy laughing. She winced. It's complicated. No, it's not. I stepped closer. It's actually really simple. You lied. You looked me in the face and told me I was imagining things. And then you proved I wasn't. Her eyes welled up. She blinked hard, like she could push the tears back in. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't mean for me to catch you. I corrected. She reached for me, and I stepped back. That simple movement, just one foot, felt like crossing a canyon. I was lonely, she said, tears slipping now. You're always working. You're always tired. I didn't feel seen anymore. I wanted to scream, to tell her that I worked so she wouldn't have to worry, that I was tired from carrying both of us, that I didn't feel seen either. But I didn't. Instead, I said, so you found someone who made you feel alive? She nodded, ashamed. It wasn't about love. I swear. It was just, I wanted to feel like I mattered. You did, I said. You still do. But now I have to ask myself if I do. To you. She said nothing. We sat in silence until the kettle screamed. She didn't move. I poured myself a cup and left hers untouched. That afternoon, I packed a bag. Just the essentials, some clothes, my laptop, the things I'd need to be somewhere else for a while. She didn't stop me. She just watched from the doorway, silent again. Like she understood that words wouldn't fix this. That some wounds aren't closed with apologies, but with space. I'm not saying we're done, I said, pausing at the door. But we're not okay. She nodded. I know. I walked out without looking back. Because if I had, I might have stayed. And I didn't trust myself to do that. Not anymore. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of cheap motel coffee, long walks along roads I didn't know the names of, and endless nights staring at cracked ceilings wondering how I got here. Wondering if I was broken, or if we both were. She texted almost every day at first. A slow drip of regrets and half-confessions. I didn't mean to fall for him. I miss you. Please come home. I didn't answer. I read every word, every carefully timed message, but my fingers refused to move. Because what do you say to someone who set fire to the house while you were still inside? Eventually, the messages slowed, then stopped. It was the quiet that hurt the most. I wasn't expecting to see her again that soon. Definitely not in that place. It was a Thursday, same as the night she walked into the bar with him. I was back in the city, not to see her, but to meet an old friend from college who was in town for a conference. We chose a spot at random. A little bar tucked behind a bookstore downtown. Cozy, dim, the kind of place where you could forget the outside world for a while. He ended up canceling last minute. Some client dinner, or maybe he just sensed I wasn't really ready for company. So I stayed. Ordered a whiskey. Let the music cradle the quiet ache in my chest. And then the door opened. Again, the sound of heels. Again, the shift in air before my mind caught up. I looked up, almost annoyed at how familiar it felt. Like déjà vu with sharper teeth. Lee. With him. Same man. Same smirk. This time, I didn't freeze. I watched her scan the room like she always did, subconsciously tracking energy. Her eyes skimmed over me, and then came back. Landed. And widened. He was already halfway to the bar, ordering drinks, oblivious. But she had stopped cold. Like she'd walked into a mirror and didn't recognize her own reflection. I didn't blink. I lifted my glass. A simple gesture. And just like last time, she dropped hers. A soft crash this time. Quieter. No red wine. Just clear liquid and shards skittering across the floor. A few people looked up. The bartender frowned. Her date turned sharply. Lee? What the hell? She didn't answer him. She just stood there, locked into the space between us. That invisible line we'd drawn weeks ago, now lit up like a live wire. He asked again, more annoyed. Lee? Still nothing. I took a breath and set my glass down, slow and deliberate. Then I stood. Not to go to her. Not to make a scene. Just to leave. But before I passed her, I stopped. Just for a second. You were right, I said softly. Her lip trembled. About what? That I was imagining things, I said, with a sad smile. But what I imagined. Us. The life we had. The way I thought you loved me. I shook my head. That was the only lie. She didn't respond. And I didn't wait. I walked past her. Past him. Past the pieces of her glass still spinning on the floor. Out into the night. The air was sharp again, but this time, it didn't sting. I don't know if what broke between us could ever be rebuilt. Maybe some bridges aren't meant to be repaired. Maybe they're meant to burn, so we stop trying to cross them. All I know is that love deserves more than secrecy and second lives. It deserves truth. And sometimes, the clearest truth comes at the end of the story, not the beginning.